No, Jimmy, turn it off. We're not doing the music tonight. I know. Stop. Okay, hey, we have a very special guest in here. Never had a guest before. For longtime listeners, I know what you're thinking. Derek, back in episode 3, you had that guy Quentin Bainbridge on. And it's time for me to tell you the truth. That was me the whole time. And I'm sorry for lying to you, but this is the year that I stopped lying. This is the year that I become more truthful. So, as a part of that truth, I want to introduce somebody special. I want to introduce the funniest person in the room, Washington's favorite weep, and actual JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character, Lisa Wallen.
Thank you, Jimmy. Wow, that was
so many
really...
people. There's 3 people in this room.
I can't believe your closet clapped for me. That was really nice of him.
So, Lisa, just for the people listening at home that don't know you, which is going to be rare, you are an internet superstar. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am from beautiful Washington State, King County, represent where we are right now. I've been a comedian for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years next month. Actually, it'll be 5 years in 8 days, actually.
Dang.
February 28th will be my 5-year anniversary. And besides that, I've done, numerous Twitch appearances, YouTube stuff. Never done anything on my own because I'm too lazy to edit. So besides that, that's who I am. And I tweet a lot about anime. So I guess you can just mix those two together and it makes one weird person, which is me. So that's cool.
I think that's a weird person that we're all going to grow to love. Something interesting that you mentioned, though, is that you blend comedy and anime. Is that hard for you?
Yes. It took me 3 years to come up with a joke that could be broad enough for any audience to listen to. Because, with comedy, you don't know what audience you're going to get. It's I could get a bunch of, hipsters from Seattle who understand anything that you say. Or you could be in Tacoma and, performing for a jazz crowd on 6th Avenue. And they're don't even know what anime is. So I finally came up with a joke, or a few jokes. I have a pinned tweet that's a minute joke that I did a few years ago, but I've expanded it out to a 10-minute bit that has become broad enough to be one of my favorite bits, which is really cool.
Jimmy, make sure to put a link of that in the description. I do want to know, when you say you have to go to an audience, there is nobody listening to this. I don't have an audience, so you can make whatever jokes you want. It's okay, I promise.
Yeah, you have your audience. You have your...
There are 2 people that listen to this show. You're right. We are. Hopefully, at the end of this, I can kind of take off your clout and maybe get 4.
Clout.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I am in the room with an internet superstar rising the ranks of Twitter. Right now, I believe you are sitting at number 7. Just behind Yonko Productions. You're doing very well. I'm proud of you.
He does follow me.
So okay then. Okay, no.
To be honest, there's it's weird because I personally don't have a large number of followers like some people do. But a lot of people who do follow me are people who are very way more bigger than me. And I almost want to DM them and be why are you following me? I'm not as funny as I was last year, and I'm definitely not tweeting as much as I was last year, but yet they have hope. Lisa's going to come back, and she's going to come back strong. So.
Well, I guess with having those big connections, there is something that's been on my mind ever since inviting you on this show 12 years ago. Is this the year we finally see you on Conan?
No. But it's funny you say that because Conan is actually compared to other late night shows, it's actually a relatively easy show to get on as a comedian. Really, all you need is a bigger Twitter following, can perform at least a 20-minute set, which I can do. No big deal. I can do a rough 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have to have some kind of connection. But honestly, that's all of comedy. So it's funny how people ask questions like that, but it's if I really tried these last 5 years, if I really filmed all my stuff and really thought about my internet presence, I probably could have been on there.
And do you feel that's something that kind of means that you've made it as a comedian? What do you feel is what establishes you?
When people can recognize you that are not from your home city. I one time got recognized because I got to open up for Arsenio Hall, which was a huge deal for me. That was probably the biggest show I was paid to be on. I mean, there's been like big comedians that have come here that I've done like guest spots for, which was really nice, but nothing that really stuck out. But I gotta do a full feature weekend for him, and people like, you know, I still see people are like, I saw you once at the Parlor. I mean, that's how you've made it in Kent, Washington, though. You know, now if I travel to another state and people notice who I am because they've seen me tour around the country or something, then I think, okay, I might have made it. But it's really interesting because I'll meet comedians, you know, that have been performing for like 20, 25 years, and they're like, I've never even made it. And these are people who have, you know, opened for Joan Rivers and George Carlin, like people in their 50s they've performed, you know, in the Maldives or some crazy country and cruise ships, and they're still like, I haven't made it. So I think comedians are just so self-loathing that they just don't give themselves the benefit of the doubt. You know, they're just like, yeah, I get paid to talk into a mic, so yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're living the dream, honestly, if that can be your life. I think something you said there is like all that self-loathing. I know you mentioned that you've been doing this for almost 5 years. I will make sure Jimmy gets you a cake on the anniversary date.
Oh, thank you.
Do you just want to make sure, though, like during that 5 years, you know, nobody can do that stint all at once. So I take it that you've taken some sort of break?
Yes, I'm on a break right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I had a lot of people know I had a really rough summer last year. But I kind of wanted a break because Seattle, as much as it's a huge entertainment area, it's not very good for comedy. Like, there's not a lot of growth here. Like, we don't have all the big clubs, the big movers that come in. And, you know, when the big comedians do come in, they usually bring their own features and hosts, so it's really hard to, like, get booked on those shows. So, for me, I was like, okay, my big focus is anime. My big focus is, you know, geek stuff, like video games and stuff. And it's so hard to come up with material for that on stage. Like, there's comedians that do it and they're incredible at it, you know, but like me, I'm telling myself, is this the focus that I want? Is this the type of creativity, the kind of creative outlet that I want? So that's why I'm kind of taking a break. So I'm like, I kind of want to catch up on some series. I want to do some more research so I, you know, actually know what I'm talking about instead of being like, yeah, that one character from that one show, you know. So I'm kind of like, I started writing into my website because I'm like, I should probably start writing reviews or blogs or something. But to be honest, it's been kind of nice because it's a very, very stressful hobby / future career to have. It looks easy because you're talking in a mic, but it's one of the most stressful things I've ever decided to do in my life, and taking a break has been very, very nice. And I will say, the best thing about taking a break is that it's easy to get back into. You know, if I really want to go back on stage, I could do like a month of open mics and be right where I was last July, you know. Yeah.
So when you get back into it, I know something you mentioned there is it's kind of hard going back on stage, maybe not after taking a break because you've kind of built yourself back up, but when you mention it is kind of hard to get on stage, talk about games, anime, we seem to be shifting in a different direction as far as how comedy goes. Just to me, maybe I'm wrong, and I'd love your opinion on this because it seems like comedy nowadays, while so much of it is on stage, there's so much more room for growth as far as streaming goes. What do you think about, you know, taking an almost internet focus on that, where you will have more of an audience for those who are really into games, really into anime?
That's kind of where I'm like right now, is that I want to explore more of the internet-based stuff. I mean, but at the same time, I don't really like anime YouTubers that much, and I'm not really big on streaming because streaming you have to be. They're all gonna hate me if they hear this. No, it's not a focus I think I would thrive at. You know, like me, I'm very interactive with myself, and a lot of anime YouTubing is a lot of like clips and editing and a lot of copyright stuff too. A lot of people stress out because they spend so much hours on something, it gets taken away from them. And for me, it's like I kind of have to come up with a creative way where I can show my face and be interactive while talking about that stuff. And you know, this break was supposed to be productive with me being like, yeah, I'm totally gonna start a new thing. And so far it's been like, I got 3 hours to spare. I could watch 5 more episodes. But yeah, and streaming I think would be a really good thing too, because I have so many connections on Twitch. I have tons of friends that are Twitch streamers. I mean, one of my best friends, like, really big on Twitch. It's just that you have to be consistent. I'm not a consistent person. That's why I do comedy. Comedy is like, I only have to work for a half hour tonight. great. I don't even have to bring my mic or an instrument. I just show up in a sweater and my big loud voice. That's all I need. But like streaming and editing, I'm like, that sounds like unpaid work to me.
I think something that was really funny that you mentioned there is this break was supposed to be productive. For those of you listening who are not part of the Wisa Wallen fan club.
Wisa Wallen.
Hello, Wisa. For those of you who are not part of the fan club, 1, admission is free. 2, you get to be updated on all these great things going on in Lisa's life. For instance, I know...
Not showering for 5 days.
I think you're on day 6 now, right?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
After the gym tonight,
keeping the streak alive.
Feel a little ripe after that.
That's the smell. We got to get out of this closet eventually. So the thing that I wanted to bring up about that, though, is that it seems like you were able to do more during your break than just kind of sit around. I heard that you went on a tour of Asia.
I did. Asian tour. Because I took this break and I wasn't getting myself into a mindset of being motivated, so I decided to just go to Japan and then decide where I was going to go from there. And my 10-day trip to Japan turned into 10 weeks, and I visited Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. I ended up getting this awesome tattoo, which the audience cannot see, but
it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and it hurt. It took 10 hours in one day. But it was funny, like I wanted to see this tattoo artist in Osaka, and when I was in Japan on September 12th, I was like, I would love to get a tattoo from you. And he goes, well, the only date I have available is October 29th. I said, well, I guess I'm staying in Asia till October 29th. So that's why I ended up staying, and shockingly did not run out of money because everything was way cheaper than I expected it to be. But it was really great, and now I have all this material. I have all these videos and photos that I took. I'm like, as soon as I get home, I'm gonna upload them, all this stuff. Nope, they're just sitting on my phone. Eventually, I'll get around to that.
Lisa, I need you. You got to hit us with a little part of the remix. I need to know, what is something that you would want to tell people? Give people a sneak peek.
Of what?
Of the stories you want to tell people about your time in Japan.
Oh gosh. Well, for example, I will say, it was very interesting to be in another country by yourself where nobody speaks your language. It's like that's something I don't think I would ever experience in my life, and I think it's something everyone should experience in their life because it's hilarious, and it's also, you get to this point where you just don't really care what happens. Not like, I don't care if someone murders me. More like, sure, I'll do that. I don't give a shit. Like, that's just where you are. Your mindset goes to that. But there was one story that was really funny. I was trying to get lotion for my tattoo, and everything's in Japanese. And I forgot to ask the tattoo artist, oh shit, how am I supposed to find, the right kind of lotion? Because they put skin whitener in everything in Japan. It's really hard to find, just basic stuff. So I was talking to this guy who also got a tattoo. He goes, well, what's really good for a tattoo is the cream that women put on their nipples while they're breastfeeding, because it's all natural. It causes your skin to not scar because, babies chewing on fucking nipples. I know it sounds weird, but it makes sense. It's kind of like Carmex for your nipples. I would say that.
Great. Yeah, my favorite.
And so I wanted to get that. I was like, okay, instead of asking for lotion, which can have anything in it, these nipple creams normally have 3 ingredients. So I go to this baby store and I asked for nipple cream, but I said it in the Japanese version because I looked up the word. The lady just looks at me and starts laughing, and I'm like, why is she laughing? I feel like that's a normal thing to ask for. And then when I got back, I told one of my Japanese friends about it. He goes, wait, you asked for nipple cream? He goes, do you not know what nipple cream is in Japan? I was like, no. He goes, nipple cream is a cream they sell at sex shops that women put on their nipples so that they look more pink and youthful. So I go to the fucking store and I'm asking for nipple cream to put on my fucking arm. I'm just pointing at my arm nipple cream, please, for Deku's nipples need to be more pink. So the language barriers really hit you in the weirdest ways. So that happened. But a lot of little random stories like that, which was really funny. But that was one that stuck out because I was just like, yeah, this is why I should probably learn a little bit more of Japanese culture and just winging it by saying, I can just say it in Japanese, it'll be fine, has a completely different meaning over there. So, but a lot of it was like, I just met random people and I would just do stuff with them and, stayed in hostels. I probably slept in like maybe 15 or 16 hostels in the 10 weeks I was gone. Some of them were very sketchy. There was one hostel I stayed in where it was literally just a house and the guy owned it and just left it unlocked all day and never went there. I was like, and these countries are super safe, but I'm like, this shit would not fly in the U.S. Like, this house would get broken into. I literally walked in, and I'm the only person in this whole entire house who goes, oh yeah, I just own the place. So, like, feel free to just walk in and out. Okay.
Weird flex, but
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's just a lot of weird stuff like that, and I really hope to do it again, because it was a fucking great trip, and I was doing everything that I could to not come home. And then eventually I was like, I should probably eat home-cooked food. I've been eating nothing but ramen for 10 weeks.
As you do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my appendix is going to burst if I stay here any longer. But yeah, eventually I'll start uploading stuff from those trips because it was so fun. There was also, I met a lot of people in Japan, like a lot of foreigners from like Germany and Finland and stuff. And I'm there because I'm a fucking weeb. Like, I'm like, I want to go to the thrift stores and find all the rare figurines and stuff. And, these guys, they don't plan things. They're just there and hanging out. And they're just like, what are you doing today? I was like, I'm just going to go shop. Shop for what? I was like, I don't know anything. Can we tag along? I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. If you tag along, they all wind up tagging along with me. And, like, they would follow me every day. I'm literally spending 6 hours looking at JoJo figurines. And they're just like, so this is what you're doing today. I'm like, yeah, you guys fucking followed me. You didn't have to come. Like, I warned you, okay? And now I'm pretty sure they're all anime fans now, so it's fine.
That does remind me, I did hear through the grapevine that the next Netflix special that you have been promoted for is Lisa Wallen, Lisa is Unbreakable. Can you tell us a little bit more about that set?
The live Lisa's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
It's really just clips of me in Japan with somebody adding a stand in the background.
Oh, so. Nice. Was it weird? I know you posted some pictures about how everything was kind of weird for how tall you are. For those who don't know, she is actually 7'8".
Yeah.
Taller than...
Am I taller than you expected me to be?
No, you're so short.
Wait, really?
Well, no, I'm just saying...
Stand up. Now
all right, listen, all I'm saying is...
Okay, but you're tall. So.
Okay, here's the thing. Online, I've never met Lisa before this. I always see her post about like, I'm so much taller than people expect. I'm taller than this person. I'm taller than that person.
In Asia.
Yeah, in Asia. No, you're like, I'm taller than these people I meet. They're intimidated by me. I'm strong. And I'm like, all right, okay. I was hoping I'd be taller. I'm glad I'm just barely. Those at home know.
Here I'm relatively tall. I'm 5'11".
Oh, yeah.
So for women, normally... Asia, I'm 7'8", like you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I found men's shoes that I wanted, and they didn't even have one that fit me. That's what I mean by height. Like, this sweater is actually a men's large from Japan. And it barely fits me.
As someone who's tried to order clothes from Japan before, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an XL, that's fine. I'm a big boy. And then I get it, and I'm like, I don't know anyone that can wear this.
My favorite thing, too, was I have a niece. She's 10 months old, and I really wanted to get her an outfit when I was in Japan. I was like, just like cute little Japanese fashion. And every single baby store I went to was for dogs. Because they have, like, no babies in Japan. They
don't.
No, and
that's true.
They all have fucking Shibas. And I would walk in the store and be like, oh my god, look at this cute little Supreme jumper. And here a fucking dog is modeling it. I was like, oh my god. And it was like the same thing in Taiwan and Korea. Just dog clothes everywhere. No babies. It was so funny. And if you had a baby, people just had no shame, would just stare right at it. Like they were going to eat it.
Oh no.
It was a Thanksgiving turkey. It was hilarious.
I know a second ago you mentioned that the whole reason you went is because of weeb shit. And most, if not all the people listening to this right now are huge degenerates. So what is it that got you...
You're so nice to your audience.
Listen, to the two of you listening, I love you very much. And I'm sorry for whatever I said to hurt you. I do just want to stop this for a moment to give you the Derek Bissell patented 3-part apology. Part 1, you're beautiful. And I love you. Part 2, I'm sorry. What I did was wrong, and I understand my actions, and I will not do it again. Part 3. You are beautiful, and I love you. So as I was saying, most of the people that listen to this, myself included, degenerates. How did you get into anime?
Oh, God. Well, if we're going, like, way back in the day, it was, like, Sailor Moon and Card Captors.
Okay.
Back when it was called Card Captors.
Yeah.
And then I took a good break from, like, junior high to high school because I wanted to get laid. And then...
What's that like?
Yeah, right? Oh, my God.
I've read about this.
No. When I honestly did not get back into it until Skyward Sword came out. So most people, like, their intro back in anime was like, Attack on Titan or something, or fucking Naruto. Like, I watched dubbed Naruto in high school. I was like, this shit's awful, and I hated it. And I was like, I would actively make fun of people who watched Naruto, and then I ended up watching it.
Believe it.
But no, I got Skyward Sword back when I was like, it came out like 2011, so it's like 2019. Yeah, like about 8 years ago. And I remember just watching the cutscenes, and I was like crying. I was like, oh my God, Link has tears. It's so sad. And then just from there, my suggested videos was like YouTube clips. And I forgot which one it was that was like really like oh fuck, I gotta start watching anime again. I believe it was, I actually thought it was Naruto. I think it was the scene where he saw his mom, and that popped up. Like, it was because like top 10 saddest scenes, and then from there, I just texted my friend, was like, hey, like, give me some anime recommendations. And he's like, why don't you just fucking watch Naruto? You watched like 7 clips. I'm like, I hate Naruto. Only douchebags watch Naruto. And then I watched it subbed, and I was like, okay, it's not that bad. So I like got obsessed with that, and then after that, it was like 2013 or something. Netflix started featuring anime. So then I just started going through there. I just started cycling through the animes that were on there. And then here I am today.
The degenerate that you are.
My unshowered, antisocial self.
With jokes about hentai. My favorite.
Yeah, when I actually first started doing comedy, I wanted to make jokes about anime. That was my original niche. Like, I was like, I'm going to be that comedian that's super clean and does just anime video game jokes. And I realized it's going to take me a few years to get to that point because I can barely be funny not talking about this stuff. However, anime Twitter, Annie-Twitter, whatever you call it, I had Twitter a couple years before I even realized that was a thing. Like, somebody one time retweeted something that was so niche, like, who the fuck has seen that show? And why it has 7,000 retweets? And then there you go, I just sucked myself into that culture of awful people.
We love most of you. No, I take that back. We love some of you. For those that are listening, you know who you are. So on the topic of anime, what would you say are some of your favorites? If you had to give me like a top 3, no order.
Top 3, no order. Ooh. So I'd probably say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Even though I love the manga way more, I love the anime so much. Hunter x Hunter is probably up there. And then for number 3, I feel like my top 10 kind of all like mix in together. I'd probably say my number 3 would be...
If you need to go to 5, we can do it.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Okay then.
I think because that was the anime that got me, like when Netflix started featuring anime, and that was the one that really like stuck with me.
Yeah.
So, and I've rewatched it like 6 times. It's so good. The big shonens. Even though JoJo's technically not a shonen anymore, but it was until like 8 years ago.
Something I've noticed about you, going just through your Twitter and whatnot, you are a big fan of other shonen shows as well. What do you think it is that really pulls you into different shonen shows?
Children crying and working hard to make a name for themselves. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's because it's like it starts out as a nostalgic thing because we all grew up on like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, which were like our version of shonens when we were kids, and then like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, all that stuff. But really it's because those series are longer, and when I was really getting into long series, it was like I watched One Piece, I watched Naruto, I watched Hunter x Hunter. So then from there it was like, oh, Food Wars, and then there was like, My Hero Academia. And so I don't know, I think it is, I like a lot of action, I like character development, which most series at least most of the action series, don't really have that. You know, like you can't. There's not a lot of character development actually. If you watch like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure now, there's not so much character development as it was, you know, in the early 90s and late 1980s where they had Hammond, they're like training and stuff. I love that. I love the competitions and the trainings. I love seeing those developments of like their powers, you know, and I think that's just what really lets me click with them. And it's easy to binge. Like there's a lot of series that I've been watching that I cannot binge because so much happens in one episode that you're just like, I'm gonna get lost. Like I can't keep up with what's going on. Like I'm still trying to absorb things that happened 2 episodes ago.
I want to get on this later, but there's a show that I know you enjoy as well, which is Mob Psycho 100. Season 2 airing right now. I saw somebody say something earlier that stuck with me all day, and it's that every single episode in Season 2 has felt like a season finale. And
it has.
It has, exactly.
Yes.
It's just so wild, and I love them so much, especially the boys. You can't see me.
I have that shirt. So.
I'm wearing a Mob Psycho shirt right now because I love them all. I guess we will just get into this now because I'm not going to stop myself. Especially characters like Reagan and Mob, because I feel like for a show that at first was just like, oh, you know, it's from the guy who did One Punch Man. It's going to be a fun, silly show. Look at the art. It's become a show that kidney punches my heart.
It's very slice of life, too, which I love.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big... I love slice of life if there's actually, like, something to learn from it.
Exactly.
Like, I don't like the slice of life where it's like, this girl is half horse, half goat, or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I like it where there's, like, kind of, not really much of a life lessons, but there's, like, a message in the show. Like, you're not just continually watching this episodic series, like, you're kind of, like, adapting or learning something from it, and Mob Psychos pretty much have turned into, like, that kind of show where... Okay, kids, in today's episode, what did we learn? That type of thing. Well, we learned that Mob makes you cry. So
I think that's one of the best descriptions I've ever heard of what this show is for people.
Yeah.
I think that brings me to another interesting point in there are so many anime that do have those lessons. Just real quick for the listeners at home, what is maybe the biggest or most impactful lesson you've ever got from an anime?
Most impactful lesson? Ooh, that's a deep question because I usually just watch anime if I want to fuck one of the characters.
It do be like that.
Were you waiting for me to say that?
I did write it down.
Yeah.
It's in the notes here somewhere. Don't worry.
I don't say there's much as lessons as it is like, you know, like I judge people really quickly when I shouldn't. And I think a lot of things that I've learned from anime is to not do that. Because eventually you don't know when that villain is going to turn out to be good or the good guy winds up to be an asshole. Which is also why I love shonen so much, is because they're so slow-paced and like you meet so much and learn so much about the characters. So me, it's like over time I've just learned not to really judge people as much, you know, which is also a bad lesson for a comedian because we are the most judgmental, observant people on the earth. But I'd say like that's something. I mean, there's definitely animes that I've watched where at the end I'm like, okay, that's really nice. Like that quote from Jing, you know, at the very end of Hunter x Hunter.
Oh no, I can't go through this again.
Like you know, what was it? Where something like you should enjoy the little detours in life, like things like those little lessons. And I'm like, oh okay. Sounds great. Well, so far my little detour in life is to watch anime and make me cry. So thank you, Jing.
Thanks, bud.
For satisfying me with that quote. So I don't think I've really learned much lessons as much as I am like I'm just becoming more appreciative of people that like things unironically, and I don't judge them for that anymore.
That makes me think of something else that I see so often that it confuses me. Whenever I get online, I see people post things like, ugh, I hate anime, and they'll have like an anime avatar. Their whole thing is anime, but they're like, oh, I hate it, it's so bad. Why do people do that?
You're only allowed to hate Sasuke. You can't hate anything else.
Sasuke!
That's it.
Love what you love!
I'm like I made a joke a really long time ago, like, you know, yeah, like, why are anime fandoms like fighting with each other? We're all losers. Like, why
exactly.
Why are you bashing someone? Like, you're just as much of a loser as that person is. Like, Like, for me, like, I always make jokes about how there's too many fucking Naruto accounts as there is.
Yeah.
But it's like, I fucking love that show, dude. It's my guilty pleasure. I will defend it to the day I die. But, you know, I don't make fun of people maliciously for it. But there are people who are so... Like, I saw an entire thread about how Mob Psycho is a garbage series. I'm like, you are only tweeting this because other people are in love with it. Or, like, the Digibro thing about how he hates JoJo. But he's a garbage human, so it doesn't matter. But his whole thing... And it's like, you are only doing this because other people like it. Like, you can't... If you're already the type of person who likes things like anime, things that are, even though it's cool these days, it's really not. Nobody actually likes anime that look cool. You can't go around bashing other people who are in the same fandom as you. You just can't. Like, it's like, we already like things people don't like. Why are you trying to put us in an even little smaller group of people? And it's even funnier because, you know, the whole fucking anti-YouTubers that were fighting with each other. I don't... That For Never World guy, fuck him. I can't even look at him.
If you're listening right now, bud, catch these hands.
I'm sorry. You're gross.
You get a teammate. It's going to be 2v2, me and Lisa versus you and whatever friends you have.
Well, what's so funny is it's like everyone's tweeting about how they're fighting with each other. I'm like, why are you guys fighting with each other? Like... I've had so many people start drama with me about anime on Twitter. I'm like, I don't care. I just don't. Like, I'm not going to argue with you about Attack on Titan or Bleach or fucking whatever show that I don't care about or I'm not going to watch anymore. So, which are those two
yeah, exactly.
shows. Yeah, so I don't know. So if there are any lessons I learned in anime is to stop shitting on people who like anime because you look like an asshole.
I think that getting at that point is so good because it really... So many people try saying, oh, you know, anime is mainstream now. That's what the problem is. It's not that mainstream. It's more popular than it was, but as an ancient human being at 26 years old, I have seen... so many people say...
It is not cool, okay? Wearing a My Hero Academia shirt is cool. But if you talk to that person who thinks anime is cool and you start telling them all the shows that you like, they'll look at you like a fucking idiot. I know, okay? I'm a hot girl that has approached men and been like, oh my god, I love your shirt. Who's your And they look at me like...
Well, they can't do anything because you made them nut.
Yeah,
I get it.
No, that was just like that. Just,
yeah.
No, it's like... I think... geek culture is just cool now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. It can be comic books, anime, but like me, there's people who hate the fact that anime is cool now. It's like you only hate it because it made you unique, and now it's making you less unique. But instead of looking at that way, you should look at it like, hey, this is something I love, and other people love it. Why don't I expand my knowledge to them? Why don't I introduce series to them? Why don't I do something to make this a good thing instead of being like, well, you guys aren't real anime fans or whatever, you know?
Actually, Lisa, no, yeah. I think you're totally right there. Like, it's gatekeeping is so buck wild, especially in the anime community where for the longest time, I remember being in middle school and people hating that I would go onto YouTube because YouTube had like just started when I was getting like halfway through middle school, and I remember that I would go watch like the deep cuts, like harem shows that weren't aired in the US, and I would go and try and tell my friends, and they're like, what are you on about? Can we turn the wrestling back on? Stone Cold's gonna drink a beer.
Yes,
and I love that
because wrestling is not as nerdy as anime, right?
Hey, listen, I love my sweet athletic theater boys, and I would never talk down about wrestling fans, but it's kind of the same culture in that they think that, you know, this is my personality. And I don't know if you know this, there's a lot of stuff going on in the wrestling community right now where they all hate each other.
All of my comedy, like the big fandom in comedy was wrestling. Every comedian in Washington had a wrestling joke. And they all were the same joke. Like, what does wrestling and Jesus have in common? They're both real or whatever. Like, just like dumb jokes about worshiping wrestling. Like, and it's like, that was the big thing. And I didn't even hear about wrestling since I was 12. So I was like unaware that it was big again. But it was cool. Just like, okay, this is your guys' thing. except all your podcasts are about wrestling. And I was shocked to see how many people, it's like I was the only person in this area that was into anime.
Yeah.
How are we all wrestling fans, but there's only one anime fan in the entire comedy community? I don't know.
It is really different. I think it's dumb though that we all segregate ourselves like this. We don't have to. There's no reason to say anything like that. I
segregate myself from everyone.
That's you have a reason to. I get it. Like, you are too good for the rest of us folk, and that's understandable.
I wear my gym clothes with this podcast, guys. So I was like, I don't even have to look good for this.
No one's gonna see this. There's 4 people listening now.
I smell like Korean barbecue, you know.
That's not a joke. I know. We've had some laughs here today. This closet smells so bad.
Jimmy's
it's not that bad.
Here just
Jimmy left.
He left.
He took some feet pics and he was out. Jimmy, I'm sorry for slandering you on the timeline. I think that this does bring us to another thing that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
There was a time that you mentioned that, being in the anime community and dating is super hard because it's so funny to see like other posts, not even ones that you've made, but other people where they're like, dating someone who's not into anime when you are, that's a game changer. I don't know if you can do it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I would like that. My previous relationship was with someone who was a huge anime fan, which was awesome. But I dated a guy before that for like 3 years that was not into it. But he didn't refuse to get into it. He didn't have time to get into it, in quotations. We watched, I think, Attack on Titan. We watched a bunch of Ghibli movies together. We watched, and that's because when we were dating, that was when Netflix started putting anime onto the queue, and it wasn't ever his thing, which was fine because he had his own thing. He played drums. I'd watched anime. But after a while, it's like you don't really feel like you connect with that person. Like there's couples where like the guy likes football and the girl doesn't, and she'll like sit and watch a game. But like guys who like football like them for like 3 months, and then they don't just like actively go, I'm just watching these old games from 1980. I'm just catching up on my football from the early 90s. Like they don't go and buy football figurines and go travel to other countries to go watch football. Like there's a big difference between that and being an anime fan. That's a really good bit. I might just say.
Okay, Derek, if you ever want to get a girlfriend, stop buying football figurines. Got it. Just not even for the rest of the podcast. This is my own notes now. If you were going to make a dating profile for a weeb, because I know every person listening here is single and alone, getting 0 matches on Tinder.
Well, for me too, it's like I always thought it was funny because like I'm really into anime, but most 99.9% of my friends are not. They're not. I have no anime friends. All of my anime friends I've met on Twitter, like you, or just people I've associated with like throughout my life. Like I have one really good friend who we follow each other on Twitter. We don't even talk to each other on Twitter, but he was the one who got me back into anime. So like him, but now he's like does full-time streaming. He doesn't have time to watch new series. Like he hasn't watched anything in years. So like as far as like people who are actively still into it, like constantly watching new series and reading new manga, I just have like my Twitter friends. So me to date somebody who's not into that, I feel like that would be really funny because it's like it's always going to be someone I met through my friends. And my friends are going to be like, this is my friend Lisa, she's really funny, you love her. And I'm like, I would be determined to not tell this person that I like anime and then like bring him to my house and then he just sees all my art and like my 3 cases full of figurines. And then he'd be like, oh, is this like your kid brother's room? I'd be like, yeah, sure. I think if I dated someone who didn't like anime, as long as they're willing to accept why I do and like watch stuff with me, I wouldn't care. Like, everyone has their separate lives. I also know it's very rare to find somebody that likes anime that you're into because we're all fucking weirdos. We're all socially awkward. We're all like, I could date someone who likes anime, but like, I want to watch a show at my own pace. Like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Date someone long distance. There.
Yeah,
that's my
exactly.
advice. Date someone that you see once a week. That way you can watch all your anime for 6 days, and the one day you spend together, you can be like, yeah, I exercised every day this week. It was very productive. Watch some TED Talks.
Yeah, exactly. We're part of the Annie Fitter community. That is a real thing. I do want to say part of Annie Fitter.
Oh, it's gross. Oh, like, okay, so,
damn.
like...
Okay.
I will... No.
I came here to have a good time.
Are you talking about, like, this kind of fit? Is that what you're talking about?
I think I'm talking about just the kind of, like, people who watch anime and also are trying to get fit because, as, like you said, most of the... Oh, yikes. She's walked out. She's coming back.
No. So this is... Oh, God. Okay, so, like, I go to the gym a lot because I have really bad anxiety. Like, I have so much energy right now. And I shouldn't. I just, me in general, I just don't sleep. I always have energy, so I have to work out to, like, release my energy. And I've noticed, like, I've been going to the gym 5 days a week for years. And I've noticed, like, within the last few months, every fucking dude at the gym is wearing a fucking My Hero Academia t-shirt. Or a Naruto shirt. And I'm like, or a Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like, is this, like, a thing? Like, are we just, like, open about our lifestyle in our most vulnerable part of our day? I go to gym and I hide everything. I've had people approach me for my tattoos, which is really cool. I love it when people do that. But then I will try to get into a conversation with them, and it's like, oh shit, like I didn't mean to like trigger you. I just wanted to say I really like your tattoo, and I'm like, what's your favorite Zelda game then, huh? What's top 5? Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite villain? What other animes do you like? Like, no, so I just hide everything because I know that the real Lisa is going to come out and scare everyone. So, but I've noticed it's like a trend, and like they'll wear shirts like training to be All Might, and I'm like, fucking die.
I have that shirt.
No!
You posted it one time. It's the blue tank top, and I was like, I'm wearing that shirt right now, and I was like, oh yikes. I don't wear it in public because I love myself.
When you showed me the JoJo ones, I was like, no. You're like, what? I was like, no.
No, I didn't know what you responded back like 8 days later, and you were like...
I know, I'm the worst at this. Dude, you should see my inbox. That's why I had to get rid of Facebook, just so people would stop messaging me. And, like, I know that makes me sound like I'm like, I get messaged a lot. No, I don't get messaged a lot. I just don't read them for months. And then they build up. Like... I'm not popular. Just people they message me and I'm like, oh shit, you messaged me November 14th asking what I was doing tonight. I'm free now.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're available. So.
You're more spontaneous that way. So, it's very interesting to listen to you talk about how passionate you are. Because it comes out that you want to hide the real Lisa. And I don't want to turn this into a therapy session or anything, but I think it's so interesting
I have a lot of therapy, it's fine.
When I used to be a psych worker in the Army. This is fine. This is all the same thing for me. It's interesting for me to hear you say, like, oh, I don't want to let this person come through. But I think that part of your personality is so interesting. Like, that's the part of you that, not to speak for everybody on Twitter, that people love. Because you don't half-ass any of your emotions when you get on there or in any way.
You should see my girlfriends. It's so funny. Like I have a nice group of really beautiful women I hang out with. I love them to death, but I don't talk about this stuff to them because they're not into it. Like our relationships are built on like hating the same guy 12 years ago, and then we just stayed in touch since. But it's so funny when they introduce me to their friends. This is my friend Lisa. She's a nerd. She like loves anime. She loves anime. Lisa, tell them how much you love anime. I'm like, let's not do that, please.
Not, please.
Like I went out the other night with one of my girlfriends, and after the bar, we like went to some dude's house, and he had a Switch. Oh my God, Lisa, this guy has a Switch. You show him how you play Switch. Like that's what she said. Show him how you play Switch.
I do put one controller in my butt.
Oh my God. And he was like, play for us, Lisa. Play something. Show him how good you are. So I wound up playing Smash Brothers with this guy, and I beat him. Which
nice.
Was nice.
What do you play?
Then he beat me again. I play with Toon Link because I'm a weeb. No, I like Toon Link and Pikachu and Mega Man. Those are my threes. And then my backup is Kirby because everyone uses Kirby. But it's just funny. Like, that's just who I am. I'm like, this is Lisa. She is a nerd. It's like you have to tell like an alcoholic. Like, just beware. She has a problem. We try not to bring it up because she gets really emotional when you bring up the whole anime thing.
You own it, though. I think like that's a part of your personality that really comes out strong in a good way. Like, I know some people who are like, their whole personality is being a nerd. And I feel really uncomfortable talking to some of those people.
I think because a lot of people are so entitled. Like, I'm like, that's cool. Great. I'm not going to sit here and argue if Lelouch is better than White. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I didn't like Code Geass because they all look like Brad dolls. That's the only reason I didn't watch it. I was like, I watched 10 episodes, and they look like Brad's dolls.
It's true.
So I stopped watching it. And, like, people will, like, legitimately get mad at you. Wow, well, then your taste is garbage. Because I don't like one anime you like. And I hate that. I hate the entitlement in the community. And it's like that for all communities. Like, for video games, too. You know how many times my entire life I was called a fake gamer because I like Zelda so much?
And because you're a woman.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah, both.
Yeah. But also, I really like Zelda. Like, so what if I don't own a fucking Xbox? Let me play Zelda. I'm not going around claiming I'm the best gamer in the world because I played Twilight Princess 30 times. Like, but people are like that in the anime community. I'd be like, yeah, and when I brought up Bleach earlier, I never watched Bleach. I watched like 14. I watched like 40 episodes. I got to like the rescue art of it, and I dropped it. Yeah. I didn't like it. And people like, oh, well, if you didn't watch Bleach, I never also watched Dragon Ball Z. Like, I don't have to watch those intro animes to be an anime fan. Like, I didn't even see Cowboy Bebop until 2 years ago, and people grew up on it. I'm like, did you really grow up on it, or did you just start watching it a couple years ago and claim that you did? Like, there are so many shows where it's like, people say, like, you're not a real fan, there's no definition of what you are. If you like something, then you like it. The end, like... So I think that's another reason why I kind of hide that, is that there's that entitlement because, oh, well, she's a woman, so, she probably just watched one episode of Naruto and all of a sudden she's a weeb. But it's like, well, fuck me sideways. I'm sorry for even trying to get into a conversation with you.
I'm going to stick up for you here. I'm going to take all the flame off you. I know there are people out there listening like, wow, she only listened to 40 episodes out of the 8,678 of Bleach. She didn't even make it to the good part where Rukia... No, I'm going to stick up for you by saying, and I'm sorry if this makes... I think we're friends now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if this ends our friendship. I've never seen a single Studio Ghibli movie. Any of them ever. Okay.
I'm just kidding. That was like what got me back into anime. But yeah, like it's all that thing. Yeah. It's like if Studio Ghibli movies were easy to watch and they're easy to buy. And I bought a big DVD set of them off eBay, which shockingly enough, I got all the movies and they weren't garbage. And that's what I watched with my ex. But if you went a different route, like some people grew up on Dragon Ball Z, some people, what was another big intro anime? Death Note. A lot of people got into anime because of Death Note.
Oh, the youngins.
Or all the high school ones, like all the high school boy animes. I never watched any of that shit. Like, and people were like, how could you not? It was so big. I'm like, yeah, you know what else is big? Like the Seahawks. And they won the Super Bowl twice, and I still never watched the game. Like,
who?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring this up late, but earlier you mentioned about how your friends introduce you to people. I just have to tell you real quick, and sorry for putting my mom on blast. If you're listening, sorry about all this. But the other week, my mom called me and she was like, "Hey, Derek, I haven't talked to you in a week or so, and I've been thinking, I think it's time. You're 26 now because I just turned 26 a few weeks ago." And she's like, "You're 26 now, thank you." And she was like, "I think it's time." And I was like, "Time for what?" "Well, Derek, I think it's time that you finally go to Japan, maybe spend a few weeks with your friend that lives over there and, finally find yourself a wife. I think that would be really good for you. You'd have such beautiful children." And I don't know how to respond back to that because there's no good answer. I can't just be like, "No, Mom, you're crazy, putting you back in the home, bye." But that's what I wanted to say.
Well, it's okay because I'm almost 30 living at home now. Because I moved back home last year because I had a really awesome house in Renton, and then it got sold, and then I moved back home temporarily, and the only way to make it temporarily is if I left for Asia for 3 months and came back and was unemployed for 7 weeks. But now I have a job, and my parents are like, "Well, now you can just stay here until we die." I'm like, this is a temporary thing. It's still temporary, even though it's been a year now, but I'm planning on doing some traveling, and then I'll move out. So.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of the existential crisis questions, like, "Are you doing okay?" "Yeah." "You've been in your room all day." "Yeah. I have video games." "Do you want to watch me play them in the living room?" "No." "Okay, well then I'm going to... Do you think I'm just sitting there crying saying my life is over all day?" I mean, I do, but I'm doing that while playing video games. So
Yep.
I'm at least being productive. They're very pushy, like, so when's your next comedy show? When are you gonna start doing things that aren't being at home? Because I was working from home too.
Oh.
So my parents never not saw me. Because I was working from home full time. I go to the gym, come back, and then play video games. And like I was like, wow, if I didn't have a job right now during the day, I would look like a giant piece of shit.
Wow.
But I was making money, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
My defense is like, I'm saving money by living here, you know? I promise one day I'll be out.
That's good though. Like that's cool of you to actually have plans to do things. I think at this point,
I don't know about that. I just say that. You know?
I believed you, and if you can fool me, you can fool anybody.
Yeah, there you go.
I think there's so many of us that are like that in the anime community. I call us like active shut-ins. Like the only thing I do is I go, since I quit my job a little over a month ago, all I do is I go to class in the morning for like 2 hours. I come home and play video games and watch anime until it's like 9 o'clock at night. I go to school in Linwood, and then I'm transferring to WashU in like a year and a half.
Oh, okay. You have ambitions.
Well, I pretend really well. Earlier when we were talking about wrestling, I've been thinking so hard, like, man, in high school, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I did theater. I'm a very strong boy. Like, these two things go together, but...
A very strong boy.
I just don't know if I can put on the tights.
I know that quit comedy to do wrestling. I have a few friends that did. I actually had a friend quit comedy to become a wrestling announcer.
Huh.
Yeah, so he does a bunch of, like, amateur wrestling games, and he lives in Florida now.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people have done, and like that's another thing is that one of my big freakouts is like I love doing podcasts. What's always the questions like, tell us about yourself. I haven't done comedy in like since July. What else is there to know? And I kept thinking like, wow, like I feel like I'm kind of wasting my time taking this break and not doing anything else. And then like I said, I hung out with my friends on Monday. I have friends that have been doing comedy for 10, 12 years. You know, they're still building themselves up. They're like, I've taken breaks for like 6 months, dude. Like, don't be it's comedy. It's not like you're doing gymnastics and if you don't work out for 8 months, your career's over. Like, all you have to do is remember how to be funny. That's it. And you know what? 90% of being funny is failing. So all you gotta do is learn how to fail again.
That's why I'm so funny. I got it. Thank
I'm
you.
Such a failure.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
All right. So sorry to put you in the hot seat, but
I've been in the hot seat, but yes.
the seat's
go
hot.
on.
I have one final question for you. If you had 30 seconds to give one piece of advice to anybody listening, what would it be?
Piece of advice?
Yeah.
How many seconds do I have left?
Yikes! 20. No, I'm kidding.
Is that don't rush into things. Like, honestly, that's the best advice I can give to anyone. Is just don't rush into things. If you want to do something, you know, don't feel like you have to do it right now. Give yourself time. I'm not making that as an excuse for myself to live at home with my parents until I'm 30. I'm saying in general, it took me years to get into stand-up. And when I started stand-up, I took a lot of failure. I took a lot of bad jokes. And then I got to a point where I really enjoyed it and I really loved myself. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I did what I wanted to do and now I want to do something else. And I realized, like, instead of forcing myself to sit down and write every night, it's like, you gotta give yourself a break, you know? People are really hard on themselves. I think it's a millennial thing or a Gen X thing or whatever the fuck generation we are, is that we've been taught that we have to work. The more hours we put into something, the harder we work, we're gonna make it there. And that's not how it works. That's how you stop being creative. Creativity can't be forced. You can't force art. You know, people always say that, and it's true. Like, write things. Like, if you want to start doing comedy, if you want to start writing blogs, you know, write down things, write down ideas, but don't just sit there and be like, well, if I don't write something, then I'm not gonna do it. Like, I feel like this generation, people are they try, they're so hard on themselves and they feel like if I don't do something right now, I'm never gonna do anything. And it's like, no. Like me, like I'm fucking 29. Most of my friends are like in their late 30s or they're like mid 20s. It's kind of weird. But like those people who are in their late 30s, you know, that have been, you know, they've already gone to school, you know, they've traveled the world, stuff. They're still doing the same things they were 10 years ago. They've just, like Jinx said, it's those little adventures, you know, the journey, the tours of life along the way, you're still going to end up in that same spot. So it's like, why rush? Why not enjoy your breaks? Why not force yourself to work when you can just, relax and whatnot? I guess that's my life advice. I honestly, when the whole time I was saying that, I'm like, this is just an excuse for me to not do stuff. But yes, that's my life advice.
It's okay, because that was more beautiful than anything I've ever said on the show. So it works, yeah. All right, one last thing. What is one anime that you would like the listeners to go check out that you think that they haven't watched yet?
Honestly, Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah, buddy.
And you want to know why? Because, I know I'm probably going over, but I don't care. I have a friend who's like always refused to watch anime, and she's recently like wanting to get into it, and she said, I want something that's a mix of everything, which I thought was something I've never been asked. Most people are like, I want something funny, or I want something horror, I want something gory, and she's like, I want something that's a mix of everything. So I say Mob Psycho or One Punch Man. And I say that, like, a lot of people are like, oh no, you gotta watch like Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop, all the classics, and I'm like, I don't agree with that. I feel like if you want something that's going to be funny, that's going to be constant entertainment, it's going to be awesome, heartwarming action, and great animation, like Mob Psycho. And it's an ongoing series. So like, I feel like it will give you the idea of what kind of anime, what did you like from that show? What did you like? What was the aspect of that show that you like? And then I'll get you more anime like that. Did you like the show because it was funny? Did you like the show because it was heartwarming? Did you like it because of the cool animation, the action? So I feel like something like that is a good anime for people to get into right now.
I'm going to hold on to that for later. But the next episode of Anime Elixir will be 100% focused on Mob Psycho 100. But that is all for today.
Yeah.
So long, and thanks for all the anime.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I know that was your ending
Oh,
thing.
no, it's fine. No, this makes it more natural. This is the first time that I haven't scripted out every single
for all
word.
the anime, Dead Science. Anyways, thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. And, oh God, look at the time. It's getting late, so.
My mom's calling. She said that there's a nice young lady on the phone to talk to me.
She said that smells like cream barbecue.